So Napheesa Collier is the best basketball player in the world. And Napheesa Collier went on to First Take. And of course, as expected, she was asked about the Fever getting more TV viewers, which is just one of those like obvious things. I mean, the reason why they have more national TV games because 18 of the top 20 most viewed games last year were the Indiana Fever. It was literally like, if I'm not mistaken, it was if you don't count the All-Star game, there was a Las Vegas Aces and Chicago Sky game that, again, was directly before one of the Fever games, which had more viewers in it, which was literally right before a Fever game. So a game that led into a Fever game. No other time when the Sky played the Aces, but the one that led into the Fever game, and it was Game 5 of the finals. That was literally it. They were the only games that had more viewers than Caitlin Clark games. But let's listen to Fee Collier.
So Caitlin Clark obviously has been a hot button topic on the show and took the WNBA by storm last year. Now her team is going to have 41 of their 44 games nationally televised, while the reigning champs, the Liberty, only have 32. Was this a fair move by the W?
Wait, first of all, can we just say this right now? The WNBA do not decide who's on TV. Let's be there. They make the deal with the WNBA to get certain amount of games on certain days, and whatever, like, these networks choose who to show. There are multiple times when the Fever play other teams and they have to make a choice, and these networks are going to choose the Fever every single time. And any person at any of these networks that does not choose the Fever should be fired. Not only that, but if the Indiana Fever, I'm just putting this out there right now, if there was some sort of a deal that the WNBA made with their TV network that they had to show other teams more than the Indiana Fever and that they had to show every team equally, you can split the money in half. They're getting $200 million a year. You could split that in half to $100 million if they were not allowed to show the first the Fever, second the Liberty, third the Aces, fourth the Sky. Maybe the Dallas Wings there as well. If networks were not allowed to do that, you could half their TV revenue money.
I think it's two things. I mean, obviously people want to watch Caitlin play, and so you have to put the people on TV that people want to see. But at the same time, like, there's stars all over the league, and you want good basketball as well. Obviously, Indiana, especially like with their free agents, they're gonna be a great team.
But like, winning basketball is not good basketball. Like, we can be honest here. The Connecticut Sun were really good last year, but I would rather watch paint dry. Like, the Minnesota Lynx, her team, for a basketball purist, it's unbelievable basketball. It is unbelievable basketball what the Minnesota Lynx did, but it's not for everyone. They're passing, they're moving. For a basketball purist, what her team did was good basketball. But I understand, like, from a casual perspective, there was 1.5 teams that were good to watch last year. Or 2.5 teams. The Wings were so fun to watch. They were garbage, but they were so fun to watch. The Wings, the Fever, and the Liberty were the only teams from a casual perspective that were good to watch. Like, the Sun played puke ball. The Chicago Sky played some of the worst, unless it was just Kennedy Carter doing Kennedy Carter things. They played some of the most boring basketball in the history of basketball. And I have described what the Sun did as puke basketball. The Aces played the worst brand, as good as their players well, they played the worst brand of basketball I've ever seen in my life. Like, there's a reason why they were not exceptionally good last year. They just played puke ball. The Storm, I didn't watch enough of the Storm to really have an opinion. The Atlanta Dream was just Ryan Howard shoots every time she touches the ball. And who else? The Mystics. I liked watching the Mystics last year. I did like watching the Mystics. Like, I like watching Atkins. I liked watching Sykes, especially when they were good. And Julie Vanley was always fun to watch. But I don't know. Like, there were very few good teams.
But to not have the defending champs on TV more, I think it's kind of crazy. I mean,
I'm sorry, the NBA did not have the Denver Nuggets on more than the Lakers or the Warriors. When the Denver Nuggets won the championship, they were not on TV more than Steph Curry. Why is this an issue? It's not an issue in any other sport. Like, I'm a Leeds United fan. No matter what, Leeds United are going to be on TV more than any other team in the championship, no matter how good or bad we are. Like, we could stay in the championship for 5 more years. Like, we were garbage. We were garbage. We were a mid-table championship team for nearly a decade. And we were still shown more on TV than the teams winning the league. Is that unfair? Maybe it's unfair to the freaking game-going fans. Their games kept being rearranged, but that's just how it is in sports. Like, I'm sorry if the world number 1 in tennis, maybe if it's Djokovic, it's an exception, but let's just say has Nadal retired? Nadal just retired. So let's say a year ago, if it was Alcaraz was playing or Nadal was playing, and they were playing at the same time, the TV networks would choose to show Rafael Nadal. And like, it's not like these teams or players are making more from their games being shown on TV. The more games these networks choose to show, the more money they all make. Like, this is a weird one, saying it's crazy. What are you on about? Like, I'm sorry, it's never in any sports league in the history of sports has the team who won the championship automatically been the most watched team the next year. Or the team that they show most on TV. That's just not sports. And you can see, like, look, I like Napheesa Collier. I genuinely do, and I think she tried to answer it as good as she could. But like, and I like Napheesa Collier. But like, it is answers like these that show that the WNBA literally lived off charity of the NBA for 25 years. Like, the WNBA is in a position where it's going to grow. And the only reason this league will not grow is because of the players and the old media. If the players in the old media just took their mics away, if they just stopped speaking, this league would skyrocket. And I like Napheesa Collier. I just think this is an incredibly dumb argument. And the problem is that this dumb argument is going to get clipped as she thinks Caitlin Clark is shown on TV too much. When the reality is, like, no. If anything, the fact that there are 3 games that Caitlin Clark is not on TV is mad. Is absolutely mad. But anyway, yeah, let's take a listen for more of it.
It doesn't have to be where you're taking games away from Indiana, but I think you can raise the level of TV games for the other teams as well.
All the other teams have to do is make the networks make themselves inevitable. And that is something that I actually think the WNBA has the potential to do. Sorry, not inevitable, undeniable. You have to make it undeniable. Caitlin Clark did that. No amount of media towards Paige, media towards other players, say she's overrated, negative stuff. Caitlin Clark just became undeniable. Those TV numbers became undeniable. People wanted to watch Caitlin Clark. And basketball fans in general, not just Caitlin Clark fans, basketball fans, casual basketball fans in general, gravitated towards Caitlin Clark. For TV networks to spend more of their airtime in the WNBA, other teams have to make it worth their while. And I actually think it's going to happen, just not right now. And that's one of the things that I don't understand is, like, the best thing that this league can do is just continue to play good basketball, continue to be on TV, because ironically, there's 41 Indiana Fever games on TV. Do you know what that also means? There's 41 games that other teams are playing. There are 41 games on national TV that other teams are playing in that are going to have over 1 million viewers. If you guys put on a show, those fans are a lot more likely to stay. That is a fact. That is a fact. If you guys just put on a show when you're playing against the Fever, you better believe your next game is going to have more viewers than the previous game would have. And that should be the goal of these teams. There should be extra motivation from these teams playing the Fever. And not, we want to try rough up Caitlin Clark like last year. And I'm not accusing the Minnesota Lynx of doing that because they very clearly didn't. But the goal should be, we're going to try to destroy the Fever. We're going to try, okay, they want to give the Fever all these national TV coverage. Cool. That means we're on national TV when we're playing them. People are going to be, we know there's going to be 1 million viewers. We're going to make sure that those 1 million viewers want to watch us play. And I think that I'm kind of trying to be careful on words, but it's a defeatist mentality. It genuinely sounds like a lot of the players, they don't believe that they're going to be able to take the momentum and take the viewers that are there to see one player, one team, that they don't believe that they're going to be able to bring those viewers to themselves, because any player or any coach or any team that had that attitude would love it. You're like, okay, cool. You know what? Indiana are on 41 games on TV. You know what that means? It means we're guaranteed every game against the Indiana Fever is going to have over 1 million viewers. Well, unless it's on NBA TV. We're guaranteed most games against the Indiana Fever are going to have over 1 million viewers. Time to show out. So instead of a lot of these players, these teams looking at it as a positive, or the media, they're taking it as some negative, saying it's crazy they have more viewers. Because the crazy thing about it is that every other team most other teams probably have a record amount of national TV games. Like most teams are having a record amount of national TV games. And it's an issue just because one team has got more than the rest. And that's one of the biggest problems, is that if let's just say hypothetically, there was no salary cap, and everyone's made that argument. If every single player in the WNBA got paid $1 million, their salaries went up from $200K to $1 million, and Caitlin Clark got $2 million, they would make that an issue. Like, it's just, and like, again, I genuinely like Napheesa Collier. I think that argument is so flawed, and not only is it flawed, it's setting the sport back. It's setting the sport backwards. Because if you look in the way with college basketball and the women's, yeah, the game has not been as big as it was with Caitlin Clark, but there's a lot more viewers in 2023. So you can see there's a positive growth there. And you can see all these positive things. And I think that's the way the WNBA is going. But it seems like they just want to continue to be, a lot of these players want to continue to be a charity case where it's all about equality, where it's not about basketball. It's not about basketball. It's not about business. That's the thing with these sports leagues. The reason why players are going to get paid so much money is what I always say, it's a business at the end of the day. And for the players to earn the money that they want to earn from the league and the players, they're business partners. There is unfortunately no handouts in sports. Like, and again, you also have to think about it. If you're a bang average player and the league's is booming more and more and more, you could eventually be the Tobias Harris of this league. You could eventually be, if you want handouts, make the league grow, and then you can get your real handouts.
Why is that an issue? I asked this question respectfully, Napheesa, because I remember in the 80s, for example, when Magic Johnson and Larry Bird took the NBA by storm and they were winning championships, competing for championships, but then this dude named Michael Jordan came along. And Michael Jordan came along and he wasn't yet winning championships, but his popularity was so astronomical that the NBA practically marketed everything they could around this guy.
She got set up. Fee got set up. He had that point way too quick. She got set up. They knew exactly what they were saying.
So to know that there's an example like that as a shining example to be followed that could benefit the league, particularly down the road, why is that an issue when we've seen that such a marketing plan has worked in the past?
I don't think it's an issue. I do think Caitlin's a star. And like I said, people want to see her, and we are trying to grow the league. Like, you need to put on TV the players that people want to see. But kind of what I said before, I don't think raising the level of the other teams has to mean bringing down Caitlin or the Indiana Fever. They should.
It actually does, because because the way the WNBA is right now, TV networks are only going to give a certain amount of hours. There's probably going to be a point where you could, if there's another team that becomes maybe not again as popular as the Fever, but even close to being as popular as the Fever, where you could say, you know what, they get 40 games too. There might be a point where that happens, but until that point happens, because there's only a finite amount of hours that these networks are willing to show WNBA footage, or not WNBA footage, WNBA games, there's no possible way at this moment in time that you could give other teams more hours without taking them away from the Fever.
Should have those amount of games on TV on primetime, but I think other teams should also have more than what they have.
Yeah, that is one of the dumbest arguments. And again, this is someone that I have a lot of time for. I really have a lot of time for it. So she basically said other teams should be on TV more than Caitlin Clark. And, okay, do you want to know what you should do? You should go to these TV networks and say, we had a league where we had all the best players in the world, but we didn't have Caitlin Clark and we didn't have AJ Wilson. And again, Angel Wilson doesn't really draw from the aces. For the aces, there's proof of that. We had all the best players in the world without Caitlin Clark. So you see, we pulled in 95,000 people to watch on a Monday, whereas Caitlin Clark could probably have a shoot around and have 300,000 concurrent viewers. But we pulled in 90,000 viewers on most Mondays outside of the 1v1 competition final. And because of those 90,000 viewers that watch all of these other stars go to the TV networks, you should show us instead of the person who pulls in 3 million people for the first round of their NCAA tournament, 19 million people for the final, 14 million people for the semi-final, 3 million people for their playoff game against Connecticut Sun, 3 million people when they play the Sky, is the main reason the All-Star game broke other records. And that is, and I want her to do that. If she fully believes, and I stand by this, if she fully believes that that there should be other teams that are showing more than the Indiana Fever, I want them to go to the network and convince them. Because that's the only way it's going to change. Because it's nothing to do with the league, it's nothing to do with Kathy. Get the WNBPA and try to and demand the networks do that. Make that part of the new CBA if you want. I mean, it'll void the current network deal that you have and you might make half your money. But if you fully believe that you need to show other teams more than the Indiana Fever, because again, these networks only have a finite amount of hours for the WNBA, which means you have to show less of the Fever. If that's just realistically how it works, I think that should happen. And if that's something that these players feel really seriously about, go and try. Go and try. And if it works, great. If it works, great. But the current trajectory the WNBA is on, from a media perspective, from a hype perspective, we've seen it in college, and the growth women's basketball is on. It is growing at an exceptionally high rate. The way things are right now is the game is growing the way it should have always been growing. And it's people that have been around and in and around the league during the dark days of the league that seem to want it to go back to the dark days. And it's frustrating. It is frustrating. And people are like, she's fine with Caitlin Clark getting coverage. Yeah, she's fine with Caitlin Clark getting coverage, but others should be more. Others should be more. And that's what I've said, where it's like, we're fine. We're fine if Caitlin Clark, we're fine, if sponsorships or a shoe deal gives Caitlin Clark X amount of money, but it's an issue when Caitlin Clark makes more than another person. Oh, Caitlin Clark's the highest paid player in endorsements. That's a problem. We're fine with Caitlin Clark making money, but just not more than her. Do we not see the issue with that statement? And it is a big problem. It is a big problem. She's the biggest star in this league by so much. She is bigger than the league. We can be honest. The WNBA is on a growth trajectory. But if Caitlin Clark blows out her knee, touch wood, nothing happens. If she blows out her knee and it's not just a 1 year thing, let's just say she completely blows out her knee, career's done. It will take the WNBA 10 to 15 years to get back to the point that they're at right now. And it seems like it would realistically not set them back 15 years, but delay, but it would take them 15 years to get back to where they are right now. And it legitimately seems like a lot of these WNBA players, and this is someone who's a vice president of the PA, so someone that does a lot of time speak for the players. It genuinely seems like they would rather delay their growth by 15 years. They would harm their own pockets just so that Caitlin Clark's not on top. They would rather a situation where they're making less money. They're making less money as long as they're the highest paid players in the league, rather than making more money if Caitlin Clark is higher. Or maybe money's that, rather than getting more attention as long as Caitlin Clark has the most attention. And that is a league-wide issue. And it's not a league-wide issue for young players. It's a league-wide issue for vets. And this is probably the most level-headed, reasonable vet there is. And it's still a problem here. And it's still a problem. So, making problems out of nothing. Making problems out of absolutely nothing. But yeah, it's disappointing to hear that. And again, look, at the end of the day, it doesn't change my opinion on Napheesa Collier. It's just something I don't agree with. I was just very surprised to hear not even an ungrow the game argument, but almost we deserve more, but it's hard to describe it, but it's the type of argument you would see WNBA players making in interviews back when the league, every team was playing in 2,000-seater stadiums and they were quarter full back when the most popular WNBA content was Gideon falling asleep in a WNBA game, like that type of stuff. Like, it seems like an answer that would have came from that era. So yeah, it's a shocking one. But anyway, yeah, that's the video. I'll see you guys.